This is the Primal Fire Podcast with your host, Jayson the Argonaut.
It was just a little before my 37th birthday when I heard the words, "You're gonna fucking die," echo through my mind. Oddly enough, this wasn't the first time I had thought this. Hell, I'd even had it said to me with the cold, monotone voice of the truth. The kind of voice that when you hear it, you know that whoever is speaking means exactly what they're saying. But this time, it was altogether different. It was the type of situation I had zero control over. The other few times I had thought this through, I had at least had some control over my fate, the proverbial hand on wheel. Only this time the words were said in a very matter-of-fact tone, and he didn't say, "You're gonna die." What he said was, "Well, Mr. Shoemaker, this tumor is malignant, and judging by its size, I'm guessing you've had it for about 7 to 9 years. I was terrified. My world stopped. As far as I was concerned, this man had just handed me my death sentence. You see, about 2 weeks prior to this, I ended up in the hospital for what I thought was a heart attack. Shit. That was no surprise to me, though. I was pushing 300 pounds, already taking blood pressure medicine, and working a job as a railroad engineer, which lends itself to hours of sitting on your ass, eating like shit, being exhausted, and leading a very sedentary life. As it turned out, it was just acid reflux, but the doctor did discover, and I quote, "a sizable mass on my left kidney," and she recommended that I get it assessed immediately. Flash forward 2 weeks, and there I was being told I had kidney cancer. Not only did I have cancer, but I'd had it for 7+ years. All I could think of was, if I'd had this cancer in the center of my guts for that long, there was absolutely no way that it hadn't spread to other parts of my body. After 7 or so years, how could it not be in my intestines, my liver, my colon, my prostate, which was the kind of cancer that had killed my grandfather a few years prior? All I could picture was how this man, I remembered as a giant, he was 6'4" and probably 230-ish in his prime, had been eaten away to almost nothing before he died. I was scheduled for surgery later that week. It was a 4-hour surgery. The tumor was roughly the size of a football and weighed almost 4 pounds. Luckily for me, kidney cancer is pretty non-aggressive as far as cancers go. Had my surgery on a Thursday. That following Friday had just become the first day of my second life. I knew that I had to make drastic and significant changes, not only in my life, but to who I was as a person. I all but forced them to release me from the hospital on Sunday. Monday morning, I was doing the strength and conditioning coach for my 2 sons' high school soccer team. I couldn't yell because my guts were so weak, but that was fine. I decided that absolutely nothing was going to stop me from taking care of what was important. The next several years led me on a voyage of self-reflection and rediscovery. You see, it turns out I wasn't so much that I didn't know who I was, I'd just forgotten. I tell you all of this because I want all of you to realize it's not too late to get your house in order. I know all too well how easy it is to get lost in the shuffle of everyday life. As men, we're so busy being providers, caretakers, maintenance men, coaches, fathers, husbands, uncles, brothers, breadwinners, and protectors that it's easy to forget about ourselves. The next thing you know, you're fat, out of shape, sad, angry, full of self-loathing and longing for the primal beast you used to be. Shit, I don't know. Maybe you never were a primal beast. Maybe you were just a thinner, happier you. My point is you don't need an "I'm gonna fucking die" moment to get yourself together. Unfortunately, that's what it took to shake me back awake. My hope is that my story will help to reawaken you and show you that it's never too late to start over or reinvent yourself. This is a write-up from my guest today, who I met a few months ago on the Instagrams. He is a father, a nature lover, a strength training absolute maniac, crazy person, Viking lover of all things that are warrioristic. I just made that word up. And we're going to be talking about all manner of things today. So my guest today, please give him a welcome, is my brother in iron and my friend, Joe Shoemaker. How are you, sir?
I'm good. It's good to be here. How are you?
Excellent, man. I'm glad you're here. So I think the write-up was pretty to the point. So give me a little bit more about that, as you can tell me about it, because I want to hear it from you and the things you felt and you know the things that went through your head and how you coped with this and got through it.
Well, you know, it was all really kind of surreal, and it had happened so fast. Like I said, I'd gone to the doctor. I thought I was, just fat and dying, basically, but it turns out I was fat and dying, just not from a heart attack.
Right.
But when, at least for me, and I don't know, how it works for other people, but when I heard you have cancer, like I said, what I heard was you're gonna fucking die. I mean, that was just how it came across to me, and I had realized that at that point there was so much of my life that I didn't have in order, things that I needed to do or wanted to do, or things that I had put off because I was busy doing other things. That was the first step in a series of steps that probably took, I'd say 4 to maybe 6 years for me really to kind of figure out where I wanted to go and who I was again. I had played some semi-pro ball when I was young. Well, not super young, but my early to mid 30s, and then I played a little rugby, and I'd become an engineer, and everything, when you work for the railroad, which is an animal unto itself, unless you have really been a railroader, you don't understand what it's like to railroad. I mean, you're on call all the time. You're tired all the time. You work long hours. You work on very little sleep. Most of the time you're trying to manage your home life in, 5 to 6 hour increments so you can actually get the sleep to go back to work. And, it's easy, just like I said, it's easy to kind of forget about you. You lose yourself and all of that. And it was a painful experience, the growing process and rediscovering who I was and where I wanted to go. And there were some things that I had to leave behind, some people that I had to leave behind, some mannerisms I had to change about me, and some personality traits I needed to work on. The next biggest obstacle for me after the cancer and getting well was I suffered from bipolar 2. And so once I got my medicine squared away and kind of got this right, everything really started to fall into place after that. Your mind is chaos, at least for mine was. It was like having every appliance in your house and your radio, your TV, everything just turned on full blast all the time. Right. And then when I got my medication right and I started to take care of myself a little more, it kind of somebody turned the volume down on that is what it was like. And so it gives you a little bit more opportunity to focus on what you need to take care of. So.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you didn't leave this world.
Me too.
Because you've got a lot to offer. That's what, because even though you found me on Instagram, the things you post are really helpful to people who tend to fall back into a darker mindset. And my thing that I wanted to ask you was, because I'm to give people a little background, who the hell's Joe Shoemaker?
Right.
I met you. You had followed me, and you said, "Hey, man, I've got a apparel line I'm starting. Starting. It's also called Sigur Valhalla." And I was wondering if you would like to promote one of my shirts. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. There's another dude who wants me to promote a shirt and pay shipping for it and blah, 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 blah. And that wasn't the case at all. You really wanted to get it out there. And these shirts are really nice. I would stand up and show everybody the back. We'll just talk about the back because I'm sober right now. So when I'm sober, I tend to fall more. So I'm just drinking tea. So I don't want to risk knocking all my shit over, and everything. But what really got us to connect together was the whole love for Conan the Barbarian.
Absolutely.
And the Riddle of Steel. So tell me a little bit about how, you came across, how long did you want to start an apparel line? Is that how you originally wanted to start things? And how much of it stemmed from Conan and how much of it just stemmed from just warrior culture altogether?
Well, it's funny because when I started this page, I really kind of started it for me, actually. It was more things that I was into, philosophies, paganism, Germanic paganism, runes, these kind of things that I liked, the things that motivated me. So it's wild that within just a few years, I've gone from basically, I had 6, maybe 7 followers, and almost overnight, I'm up over 4,000 followers. And it's all organic. I've done very little promotion, anything like that. And it's also kind of mind blowing to me that the stuff that I I post, again, like I say, I post for me, it may be something that I'm reading at the time, or philosophy that I'm studying, or maybe something that I'm rereading. And it's, resonates with me, and I post it, and I get so much back, so many messages back from guys that are like, hey man, this is really great. I needed to hear this today. Or, and it's like, sometimes I want to say, I needed to hear it too. That's why I put it out there. So really, when I started it, like I said, it was just kind of something that I was doing for me. And then with the t-shirts, it was something I thought, well, I've got some people following me. Maybe some other people would be interested in this because I'm interested in it. So I had some t-shirts made up. I had you and a few other guys I had sent some t-shirts out to, and I ended up selling a few t-shirts. But really, the Conan thing is, I think what you call a warrior culture, and that's what I like. I think life is a battle every day. So you got to get up and have that right mindset, to go on. You're going to take the day. You're going to go out and conquer the problems that you're going to have. And everybody has, maybe it's just somebody cutting you off in traffic, or maybe you've got bigger problems for that day. But if you don't have the right mindset, you're wasting your time. You're spinning your wheels. So that's kind of where it stems from. The very name of the cigarette of Valhalla, it's victory or Valhalla. Basically is what it's roughly translated to. Yeah. And I think that's every day. You got to be struggling for victory every day.
Right. And I like the whole cigarette of Valhalla concept, because it can apply to anyone. It doesn't matter who you are.
Absolutely.
You can be a Care Bear, and it can apply to you, because you either have victory or you go out in glory. And it always takes me back to Rocky 3, which when Adrian, he was down on his luck. You saw Rocky just completely in the throes of depression. It's like, this is not our Rocky. We can't stand this, because he got his ass kicked, handed to him. And his trainer dies. He's just screwed. And he's got his friend who's, look, man, you got to come up from this. I don't want to come up from this. I just want to have a pity party and feel sorry for myself.
Absolutely.
But, Adrian told him, you do this and you may lose, but you lose with no excuses. And it goes back to, how the Spartans, and I'm kind of paraphrasing the movie 300 here. And he looks down there because this one Greek is scared out of his mind. And the Anarchy is like, there's very few people on this earth who can give us what we Spartans call a beautiful death. Mm-hmm. And that's what they want. They either win or they die in glory. And then we're not telling people to go out there and die for any cause, unless it's something you absolutely believe in. If you're a military person or something like that. But it's all about mindset and applying these mindset tools to your life. And that's what you do. Your Instagram page, attracted me because that's exactly what you do. You have a lot of great quotes from a lot of great people. You've got E.S. Lewis, you've got Robert E. Howard, you've got, just different warriors. I think you've done some stuff from Machiavelli. And it's just short and to the point. And like you said, people are going to say, I really needed this today. And it's this short one sentence thing. Sometimes it's a short sentence, sometimes it's a long sentence, sometimes it's like 3 words, but it really kicks you in the ass and it gets you going. And a lot of times that's just something people need. So we have people like you. And I think the whole cancer thing was really an awakening for you to say, hey, I have a bigger purpose and I got to have something I got to give to the rest of the world. And that's exactly, and people may think it's just like, well, why are these guys talking so much about Instagram posts? Because it's like you said, that's where you are. That's your platform. And you get to reach a lot of people. And you got so many followers almost overnight because you're posting all this great stuff. Right. So, and you've also written, my guest the other weekend was Nathan from Barbarian Rhetoric. You've written some articles for that. You're currently putting one together for me. So how far do you want to take this concept? Because you're really not inventing the wheel here. You're really doing a great thing. So how far do you want to take it?
As far as it'll take me, like I say, every day I'm blown away by it. It kind of, I guess it's amazing to me that people want to listen to what I have to say. So to me, I love the feedback. It's always great to hear back from people. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the sky's the limit. I'm if I can make 1 million shirts and sell them, then excellent. That's what Kiss did, right? They just make 1 million albums. You make 1 million, you'll sell 1 million. So,
right, exactly.
But just to touch on one thing, and not a lot of people know this, and I haven't told a lot of people, but E.S. Lewis, the quotes from E.S. Lewis. That's actually me. Those are just a name that I use for my own quotes because I was scared when I put them out there that people can be like, who the hell is this guy? What's this guy know? You know what I mean? So to me, it was just ambiguous enough where people go, hey, this might be somebody that has something to say. But yeah, those are my quotes.
Well, it sure as hell went over my head. I was Googling. I was like, who the hell is this guy?
I've had people, people that have done that, and they message me like, hey, man, I've Googled all. I cannot find this guy. Does he write anything? I'm like, that's me. That's just me.
He does. It's just not on Amazon or anything.
Right,
that's
right.
Really cool. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we need a synonym to Toast Crunch. We need something. So, yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know that. So, bringing it back to Sigur and Valhalla. On the back of this particular shirt, we have the Riddle of Steel. Mm-hmm. So let's go in about a little bit with the Riddle of Steel. Are you prepared to recite it?
I don't know it by heart, unfortunately. I should, but I do not.
Okay, so you can at least
to me,
speak on it.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, the Riddle of Steel is the way I take the Riddle of Steel is it's your heart. You can always trust your heart, no matter what is going on in the world. Men fail, beasts fail, women fail, but this you can trust always. So it's a motivator for me because, I have them days where it's like, man, I just don't want to do it today. I go to work, I get up at 4, I'm at work by 6. So, I got a long day. By the time I come out of the gym, it's, 6:30. By the time I walk in the door, and I've had a long day. I'm in bed by 8, 9, hopefully no later than 10 o'clock. But there are days where, like, say the alarm goes off or I get off work and I'm like, man, I would love nothing more than to go home and crawl into the hot shower, sit down, read a book, But you got to struggle through that, because this, like I said, this is what you can trust right here all the time. What's in your chest,
Yeah. And one of the coolest lines from the Jason Momoa Conan movie. I don't really call it a reboot. I don't call it a remake. It's its own thing. I thought it was great. A lot of people don't like because it's not Arnold. Oh my God, it's not Arnold. He's not big enough. Well, guess what? Conan wasn't that big. Conan was not that big.
Conan was never the biggest guy. He fought, bigger enemies, but no one was ever stronger than Conan, according to Robert E. Howard.
That's right. And Robert E. Howard said that. I think his boxer character was I can't remember his name. I'm not going to butcher that. I butcher everything. I'm not going to butcher that. But he said he's the same size. So Conan was 6'2", 210 pounds. Now that was big back in the 30s when it was written, and it was certainly big 10,000 BC. But one of the coolest lines was when Ron Perlman's character, who played his father, told little Conan, "Before you wield it, you must understand it."
Absolutely.
And a lot of people can't wrap their head around that. That's life. Before you do anything, understand. And before you have this purpose, or maybe you think it's your purpose and it's not, before you go forward, you have to understand it. This is weapons. This is life. This is, your genitals, whatever it may be. Before you wield it, you must understand it. And Absolutely. that was the one of the biggest components of the Riddle of Steel. And that's something that people need to understand, because like you said, trust your heart. Don't just run in there with your head, because your head is an idiot. Especially if you're a male, because women get to use both sides of their brains. We use half of our brain, and half the time we only use half of that. So you can't and like you said earlier, we're expected to be protectors and providers, and we're supposed to get shit done, and we're supposed to do this stuff. But if you're going at it with an eighth of a brain and no heart, then you're going to end up screwing the pooch on everything.
Right.
So I think that's really important.
Well, and I think too, to touch on, about being a warrior and a provider and a protector, everybody wants that a lot of times until it's time to be a warrior, a provider, a protector. Women, especially, I think, in a situation where it's time for a guy to man up, I guess, for a lack of a better term, then you're being an animal, then you're being a barbarian.
Right.
And I don't care what anybody says. Women and men, they complement one another. Just as there is a way to be feminine, there's a way to be male. And, just as a man doesn't want an overly aggressive, super masculine female, a woman doesn't want, a pencil neck, meat tube for arm, bird chested guy. You know what I mean? She wants a man to look like a man,
Right.
And be a man. But so often we're told to tone that down, and a lot of times, at least for some of us, it's hard to find that off switch occasionally, but like you said, you can't always rely on that primitive brain. It's there for a reason, and you need to use it occasionally, but sometimes you got to kind of tone it down a little bit, but it's hard to do that for some of us. It's ingrained in us. It's wired in us.
It is. And, you spoke on depression earlier, and because I also was diagnosed with bipolar type 2. I call it moodiness. And
yes, so that's a very extreme moodiness.
yeah. And I for the longest time I tried medications and things like that, and I just realized that it kind of stifled my creativity, because very few songs have been written when you're happy. At the time I was playing music, and I would sit down and I'm like, man, I'm in a really good mood, I can't get shit done. So I had to learn to use it as a tool. And like you said, we as men, this is why I started the Primal Fire to begin with, because there's the reason why men are the way they are is because they're bored. A lot of times, because we don't have the things that we're supposed to do like we used to. We're no longer required to hunt. We no longer have that hierarchy that we're supposed to have, that tribe. We're no longer surrounded by masculine men. There's a shortage of masculine fathers. There's a shortage there's a lot of fathers this day and time that use the wrong primal instinct, which is to plant the seed and then haul ass. And that was probably something that happened a lot in caveman days. But the thing about it is depression, a lot of times, what I learned, for me, I'm not saying if you have an issue, let me preface this by saying, if anybody has an issue and you're severely depressed and you need medicine, then damn it, take it. I am not a professional as far as that goes. I just know what I have going on.
Right.
And I noticed that when I started to pursue my purpose, which is my work, my writing, my music, I'm singing in a band now. At the time I was doing a little acting. I don't really do that anymore. But pursuing my purpose of getting things done, when it gets down to it, a man's supposed to get things done. And I learned that once I started doing that, if I got my ass out of isolation, stopped drinking all the time, especially stopped drinking alone, and doing things like that, then my depression all but went completely away.
Sure.
So the thing about us is, that's what people need to understand. And I'm like you, I don't give a shit what anybody says. I don't give a shit what angry women and their beta male white knight followers say. I don't care. I'm not interested in that. I'm not the type of guy to go up to a girl and say, I'm not like that, to get in her pants, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. She wants to hear that you're like that.
A man is in fact like that.
Right. And so that fire that's burning inside us, it's going to keep burning, and if we don't do anything with it, we're going to be miserable. I mean, go out for a walk in the woods and cut down some trees and do some push-ups and eat a steak, do something. Right. Because that's the kind of stuff that's stifling us right now. And that's what's happening in the world now, is we're expected to not be like that, but we are like that. And it's actually worse to try to put a wet blanket on that than to let masculinity run wild like it's supposed to. Right. Because newsflash, masculinity is not bad. No. It is all the good things about a man. If a man is bad, he is not masculine. If a man is a rapist, he is not masculine. You cannot put those two situations into the same situation. It doesn't work that way.
Well, I think Jack Donovan touches on this, and I think he really knocks this one out of the park. Is there's a difference between being a good man and being good at being a man. Mm-hmm. He talks about in a prison yard. Are these good men? Absolutely not. But are they good at being men? 100%. You're living in an environment where you're caged in with other animals, where your life is on the line every day. If that doesn't take balls the size big enough to carry around a wheelbarrow, nothing does.
That's right.
Now it doesn't necessarily make them good men.
Exactly.
So
there's a lot of I'll say, feminists that are trying to tell men how to be men. you can't tell us how to be men any more than we can tell you how to be women. That's the cool thing about it.
That's exactly right.
We're really actually not interested in the way that the word patriarchy is thrown around. It's like you keep saying that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means.
Right.
And
it's not. It means, right?
Yeah, it's not one guy overlording over all the women and with his other men folk also lord and taking them as they choose. It's not that. It's not, the like Khal Drogo and his crew. It's not something like that,
Well, and there's so much of that too, where I think that people want to use things like that as a crutch, and it's not just women, it's not just men. You get men that decry feminism, and well, if I could do this, but feminism this or feminism, and women the same thing, patriarchy this, the patriarchy that. After a while, man, that shit's just a crutch. You're just using something. You're crying about something that really has maybe that much control over what you do.
Right?
And so often. We find this one little thing and we want to use that as an excuse to not go out and succeed and advance in life. And I think that everyone, not just men, but everyone needs to get away from that. It goes back to a victim mentality,
Yeah.
You're never going to get ahead in life if you're a constant victim. If you don't take responsibility for your actions, the things that you can and can't control. That's just how I see it. But
yeah, and there's
I doubt it, but
right, exactly. And all we can do is the best we can. We got to quit.
Right,
you're not going to change the mind of a feminist. You're not going to change the mind of a male feminist, whatever the hell that is. You're just not gonna fix these people. And the thing we can do is we teach the youth, what it is to be a man, what masculinity is really about. If you hear a bunch of crap, trying to bring you down and try to tell you that what you are is wrong, you got to just not listen to it. You
Absolutely.
can't. And the men who have lost their way, like I was talking about earlier, the depressed and they don't know why, because they've never gotten out of the house and away from their job and away from their nagging wife and everything else, because they don't know how to hold frame. We can try to bring them back, but the ones who can't be fixed, the ones that are twerking in the streets, let them twerk in the streets. Let them twerk next to the tulips.
It has zero impact on how I live my life.
Right. Exactly.
That's just me personally. I don't, I've got too much shit going on to worry about what else is going on over there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a lot of it too. I think a lot of it, people are so bored with their life and they have so little going on for themselves that, hey, look at this, or hey, look at that, or I'm going to argue politics or religion or what. It's like, man, I don't care. That's noise. That's noise to me. I'm moving forward, man.
Right. Because until it stops me from going in my direction.
Yes.
It's just really, if it doesn't change, like my best friend, he'll have some problems and stuff. He's like, man, what do I do? I said, look, does it affect your bank account? No. Does it affect your daughter? No. Then don't worry about it.
That's right.
It's not for you. It's not for you. It doesn't matter how much it affects you. You're at a place where you're letting it affect you. It's not affecting you because it doesn't affect your daughter and it doesn't affect your bank account.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
So as long as it's like I tell people, you find your purpose. All this other, put your blinders on and find your purpose and go after it. Keep going after it. It's what men are constantly telling other men. It's like a training program. Well, how many sets? How many reps? Just get stronger. Just that's it. Don't worry about programs.
Right.
Because now you've got ADD. You're doing 5 sets of 12. Well, wait a minute. Is 5 sets of 12 better than 5 sets of 11? Just get stronger. Which brings me to my next thing. You're getting ready to do Highland Games.
That's right.
So this is really exciting. So I definitely want to go into this. How did you? I didn't even know they had Highland Games in South Carolina. I didn't know they had Highland Games in America.
What?
We have Highland Games. I had no idea. I live under a rock, man. Yeah, I live under a rock. And Celtic as I am, I should have known this because I probably would have.
Shame. Sir.
I know, right?
Shame.
So I got a lot to make up for. So you told me about that. I'm like, what? Yeah. So how'd you get involved in that?
Well, it's something. I mean, I am of Irish and German descent, so it's something that I've always wanted to do. Again, a time thing, a lazy thing was the issue. But they do one of the biggest ones, I think, in the United States in North Carolina, which is at Grandfather Mountain. And then they do one here in Greenville where I'm at. And we went last year, and I was looking at some of these guys, and I thought, man, I think I could do this. And again, you need a goal. You got to have a purpose, so you're not just getting up and going to the gym every day and you're like, well, why am I doing this? You got an end goal. You have something that you're working toward. And, basically, I mean, if I'm being honest, it shits and giggles. Why not do it? That was pretty much, of course I've got a kilt. So, you got to have an excuse to wear a kilt.
Oh, hell yeah. You can't wear khakis. I mean,
right. You can't wear, well, you can, but
you can, but it's not a good idea.
But yeah, so I mean, basically, I did it just to do it, to see if I could do it, to see if I still have a little bit of drive in me to do it. My first official practice is tomorrow at 3. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a learning curve. I bought you'll like this story. So I thought, man, I need to get it. I've got a pretty good sized yard out here. And I thought, man, I need to get a caber, so I can practice tossing a caber. So I got on Facebook Marketplace and searched all over the place, found a guy selling telephone poles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this ought to work. So I meet this guy. I have him deliver this telephone pole for me. Caber's supposed to be like 20 feet, weigh between, I think, 180 and 200 pounds. I believe I'd have to look again to be 100% sure. But so he lays it out here in the front yard, and I picked the end of it up. I'm like, man, this is heavy. This is like real heavy. And it was like 19 feet long, So I rolled it into the backyard. It was wet and nasty when I bought it. And I set it up on some blocks, let it dry out. So I got out there and rolled it out in the yard. I was like, man, there's no way you could pick this up. This has got to be well over 200-300 pounds, So I saw a foot off of it with the neighbor's chainsaw, throw it on the bathroom scale. It weighs like 28 pounds, a foot of it. So I got like 400 pounds of tough telephone pole out here in my yard. But I've actually been using it to do Fingal's fingers. I'll put it out in the yard and flip it over. Yeah. And so I've been doing that. And I've been I went down to the Ace Hardware down here and I found a 20-pound rock. I've been trying to practice my putting, but I'm going to go, like I say, tomorrow and do it with some guys that actually, can give me a little. I never did a shot put or anything in high school. So it's all of it's new to me. I've never done a hammer toss. I've never done a sheep toss, any of it. So it's all brand new to me. It's exciting. I like it.
Are you familiar with Coach Dan John?
I am not.
Okay. Dan John is a very well-recognized American strength coach. I'm trying to think of, he's trained a lot of people. He's in cahoots with Pavel Tsatsouline, the Russian.
That sounds familiar.
Russian
that guy sounds familiar to me. Yes. And, I know who that guy is.
Yeah. So if you contact Dan John on Instagram, he was a shot putter, record holding shot putter. He's got a lot of great books out too. And he's a record holding shot putter. He trains shot putters. He'd be more than happy to talk to you. I'll have to check it out. I appreciate the information. Man. Yeah, man. Yeah. You can look up anything. He's got a bunch of articles on T Nation. I mean, he's just a really, really great guy. And I had gotten 2 of his books and I added him on Instagram and I sent him a message and he said thank you. He said anytime you need my help, just email me. So he sent me his email. So awesome. Just go up there and message him and he'll be more than happy to set you on the right path. Okay, absolutely. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about your training that you're getting in prep for, because I mean, obviously, I was going to say you can't throw around a telephone pole, but apparently you can. But it's probably not conducive to do it all the time. I mean, there's nothing I would love more than to get up. I also get up at 4 in the morning. To get up at 4 in the morning, do my 100 push-ups, and toss a telephone pole around for 45 minutes. But unfortunately, I can't. But so what kind of? I know you're heavy into the gym. So how many times a week are you doing that? And how do you center your training? Has your training changed at all to be more conducive to games?
Well, not really, to be honest with you. I've actually the last month and a half, I was going 4 days a week. I'm now going 5, and then typically Sunday I'll get up and run. And of course, I'm 6 foot. I weigh 230 pounds. I run. Right. I've had, knee surgeries. I mean, I lumber really more than anything, but I do about a mile, know, and I mean, and I've got it down to where I'm doing it about maybe 7, depending on the weather, maybe 8 minutes. I mean, I'm not killing myself, getting my heart rate up. Yeah. That's about, but I only do that 1 day a week, like I said, just Sunday. That's about it. But I don't know that my knees would let me do it much more than that, if I'm being totally honest with you. And of course, coming up on 43, I don't recover like I used to, not back when I was in my 30s or, high school or whatever. So I've got a little bit of a shoulder issue going on right now. So I haven't really been killing this left shoulder too much. I need to actually get into a physical therapist out here and have it looked at. I mean, I don't think it's anything that's going to hinder me, but, like I say, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So, so I hit it and I got heavy days. I do heavy days, I usually do a heavy day, typically like my Thursday or my Friday most times, because I actually get off work at noon, so I have more time to do it. So, and of course, when you lift heavy, at least, and I don't know how it is for everybody, at least for me, when I go heavy to get that burn, a lot of times I have to actually do a handful more reps. So it takes me a little bit longer. Instead of going in, like you said, doing like maybe 3 reps at 12 or whatever my schedule is that week. Usually if I go heavy, I've got to do 5 sets of 5 instead of 3 sets of 5. It just depends on the muscle group, So, and my arms and my smaller muscle groups, I haven't really changed what I do there too much. Just because to me, going super heavy on your biceps or your triceps or your shoulders, to me, at my age, you're just asking to hurt yourself.
Definitely.
That's how I look. I mean, can I shoulder fly 45s? Sure. Do I want to be able to, use my arms for the rest of the week? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It sucks to get past that 40 stage, because a lot of good things happen at the same time. A lot of stuff goes downhill.
Right.
I mean, at least we're not to the point yet where you have to drink, milk with magnesium before bed every night, because we can't. Right. Can't.
Well, I'll tell you what, to take care of that, diet will take care of that, man. That was a lot of. I had reflux, and once I changed my diet, man, I mean, I never needed the medicine after about 2 weeks.
How do you eat now?
I actually changed my diet again about a month ago, and I'm eating about 4, maybe 5 times a day. Like my breakfast in the morning usually consists of 4 eggs, onions, a cup of oatmeal, half a cup of mixed berries, and then usually a cup of yogurt. And then I'll have a cup of rice, 6 to 10 ounces of meat, 2 times. And then after my workout, I usually have dinner, which is usually rice, some kind of vegetable. And then in the evening, I'll just, depending on how I feel, if I'm still a little bit hungry, I may maybe a bowl of Cheerios with a little protein powder in the milk or something like that. But really just try to steer clear of garbage. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's really, to me, that's been a huge one for me. Pop. Man, if you guys are drinking pop, I cannot stress how terrible soda pop is for you. I don't know what you guys call it. What is it down here?
Yeah, soda.
Coke
down
here. Soda down here. Okay, well, I'm from Northern Indiana.
Yeah,
it's a pop to me. But I mean, the carbonation and the sugar and everything, and I learned that actually after I had my kidney removed. The doctor had explained to me, the carbonation obviously is more readily absorbed into your system than oxygen. So that automatically is bad for your organs, for your body, period. But there's enough sugar in 1 16-ounce can of pop that it's the same as the equivalent of eating a piece of pie. So if you looked at it like, say you're drinking 6 pops a day, would you eat 6 pieces of pie a day? I mean, that's bad for you. Yeah. And my guts, it changed my stomach makeup tremendously. I mean, like I said, I had reflux, something terrible. I set up in the middle of the night, and of course, you know what reflux is. But man, when I cut that pop out, not only did I drop about 15 pounds in a week and a half, my stomach the ship kind of righted itself, man, and I felt a ton better.
That's good. Yeah, that's always good. It's difficult to maintain a good diet, but if you do it, I mean, after about that 3rd week, I think they say it takes 3 weeks to form a habit. After about that 3rd week, I mean, you can still cheat, man. I mean, you can still cheat. I did today, actually. Yeah. As terrible as that is, I had a big Greek roll, Euro sandwich, and I had some onion rings, and I'll be paying for it for the rest of the day. Right. Yeah. But you got to sometimes. You got to sometimes.
Yeah. You go crazy if you don't, man.
I had a buddy that would do that, and he was eating clean and big into weightlifting. He was one of those. He was training three hours a day, 7 days a week, and all this kind of stuff. And he's just stalling. And he went to a buddy of his, and he's like, "Man, I just don't know what to do." He's like, "Well, how you eating? I'm doing chicken breast and broccoli and blah blah blah." So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to the pizza place and get you a large pepperoni pizza, and I want you to order a dozen wings, and I want you to eat that. And he said he did, and he woke up the next day feeling like $1 million because those cheat meals really trigger, because it starts to get real old after a while. These guys, Ed Cohen said it. Ed Cohen, the greatest of all time, he said that, and they asked him, what does your diet look like? He said, I don't have a diet. He said, that's why bodybuilders are crazy. It's not the constant training. It's not the steroids. They're crazy because of this diet, this Tupperware they got to carry around all the time. And this chicken breast and this rice and whatnot. That's why they're psychotic, because it's the food.
Maybe that's what it is. Hell, all this time I thought there was something wrong with me. It's just the diet.
No. Well, in our case, it's probably more than that. But
probably.
But it's like I tell people, they're like, "Well, I wish I had to eat all that food." No, you don't. You didn't. Have you ever seen? Most people have never seen 4,000 calories of clean food.
Oh, dude, I'm eating 32. I'm eating 32 just to maintain a body weight of 235, 240 ish.
Right.
And I mean, it's a lot of food. After a while, you're just like, I am so sick of putting food in my mouth.
I know.
You know
chewing,
what I mean?
and the chewing and the chewing.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's awful. Yeah. So when are the Highland Games?
Coming. What is it? May? Is it Memorial Day? Is that May?
May. Yeah, I think so.
So mid-May or end of May. Memorial Day is when it is. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll probably be hotter than hell here, like it was last year. It was like, I think last year it was like 95 degrees or something.
Right.
Like, like the Earth's core temperature, I think is what the temperature was last year.
Exactly. How many different events do they have?
Well, they do the caber, they do the sheave, they do the hammer toss, and then the stone put. I want to say that's it, but I'd have to go back and check the itinerary again to be 100% sure. But I think it's just those 4.
Okay, cool. And it's just one day?
Yep, just one day. Just right
day.
there. I got Furman University right here in Greenville.
Cool. I think I may try to make it to that. If
I
can,
that'd be awesome.
Get in there. I've always wanted to see one. I mean, I've always wanted to be in one, but I got to get me a telephone pole. So, yeah.
I got one you can borrow.
Yeah, there you go.
Speaking of you and I both could toss it. We get on each side.
I may need to start with just the circumcised end you have.
Right. I got that up by the house if you need it.
Yeah,
I got it up
there
by
the
house.
Start tossing that around. Yeah. So I think it was back. It may have been. I think it was after Yule. I can't remember. But going and talking about paganism and stuff, and preface it by saying this is going to turn a lot of people off, but this is going to be a different discussion about paganism. This is not, people in horns and drums and whatever it is pagan people do. So I saw where you posted you had this huge, I think it was a bind rune. It was this huge bind rune you had made out of, like, was it vine?
Well, I used I'm in a shop here. I have some wood scraps that I had glued into the actual shape. And then I had some paper that I'd wrapped and then rope and, bound them up with rope.
Okay. Which runes did you use?
I used a Manez. I used the Wolf's Angle. And then what was the other one? I don't remember what it was I did now. The life rune.
Was it?
And
okay.
Go ahead. No,
I thought it was Rido. I wasn't sure if it was Rido.
No.
Okay.
I think it was. It was a life rune.
Okay.
And what I did was it was the new moon, the wolf moon for the first.
That's what it was.
For the first full moon of the year, and that was the first one I'd ever done. It was a learning experience. I learned a lot of things. Definitely about energy, making runes, that kind of thing. I thought about doing solstice, man, but I think, that's the big one, and I thought, well, my first one, I don't know if that's something that I want to tackle the very first time. Start small, kind of baby steps into it.
Right.
But it was a good time. I mean, I had fun. I definitely felt different afterwards, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to doing another one. I've got some property in Kentucky that my sons and I have just kind of acquired from my father that we're going to take care of this spring. And I'm thinking about maybe doing something down there.
Okay.
So I've got a lot of things going on in my mind about it. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do. but like I said, a lot of this stuff is new to me, so I'm still learning. I'm an
Mhm.
infant really when it comes to this stuff. I'm still trying to read, and I watch YouTube videos, and paganism is it's a very wide brush. When you use the word paganism, there's a lot of things basically that aren't Abrahamic or Judeo-Christian that would fall into a paganism realm, I guess. I'm more into a Germanic paganism, but and it's not that really. There's a lot of good information out there, but you kind of got to look for it. You got to know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, okay, well, what is this? You read about this, and you're like, well, that's interesting to me. Let me find out a little more about this, and I don't really care for that so much. Let me try this over here. And you kind of, at least for me, you kind of do what feels right, I guess, if that makes sense. Because there's so much that is mystery. There's a lot of magic and a lot of mystery in the world. And as a former, I don't know if I necessarily would say former, but as a former atheistic thinker, you kind of want to write off magic and circumstance and things of that nature. But there is really a lot of mysticism and magic in the world if you know where you're looking, I guess.
Yeah, and there's something that people don't really understand about magic, with a K, is that it's not casting spells and worshiping fire and making love potions and things like that. All magic is basically, to put it out there for people who think everything is of the devil, is that magic is when you have something in your head and you make it come to life.
Absolutely.
That's basically what it is.
Absolutely.
So if you're, and that's what I love about the Rito rune, which is a journey rune. It's not, because I've studied runes a little bit. Runes are, even though they, came from the god Odin, they're an absolutely non-religious tool.
Yes.
They are something that you use to focus your mind on. People do it with candles. People do it with, prayer. A lot of times people do it, in Christianity, they do it with prayer, because you gotta have something to focus on. And really, if we lack focus, we can't get anything done. And that's the cool thing about magic with a K. And the fact that it's really just going on a journey. It could be a short journey, it could be a long journey. And that's magic. When you go into the gym, you go on a 6-week program and you've transformed your body, that's magic. You went in there with the intent of what to do, and you did it. And something else that people don't understand, that people take for granted, if they take it at all, is that the earth has so much to offer you. Fire has a lot to offer you. That's why I call it the primal fire, not the primal duffel bag. It's one of the most.
It's got a little bit of ring to it too, obviously.
Right. Primal khaki pants. The primal telephone pole.
Right.
It's one of the most powerful elements there is. It can either create or it can destroy, like a hammer.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you look at, if it wasn't for fire, I mean, you and I wouldn't be sitting here today. If man hadn't figured out how to harness fire and use it to his advantage, we wouldn't be sitting here. Fire is safety. Fire is life. Especially, if the fucking power goes out tomorrow, the power grid goes down, you're going to want to be able to start a fire. It's a light in the dark. It's warmth. It's life. The sun literally is a ball of fire. It's life.
Yep.
So there's a lot of elemental things to paganism, because whenever paganism started, these were people that didn't understand a lot of time. I guess maybe where the sun went at night, or or like the solstice is a prime example. Every day they watch the sun get lower and lower and lower and lower in the sky till one day it's dark at what should have been 4 or 5 more hours of light, and now the sun has disappeared. It's disappeared in the sky, and we need it to come back, because primitive men and Bronze Age and Iron Age men were smart enough to realize, hey, if the sun doesn't come up tomorrow, we're all up shit creek. So fire is life. It's very, like you said, it's very primal. It's very. That's why whenever you're at a campsite, guys like to poke the stick in the fire and let's see that, because it's in your nature.
I mean, we're always trying to poke something. That's what we do.
Well,
it's part of that. It's part of that whole toxic masculinity thing.
Absolutely.
We're just trying to poke. That's all guys just want.
Absolutely.
That's
what it is.
That's all we want to do.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's amazing because
these are all penis metaphors for people who haven't figured that out.
Y'all haven't caught on yet.
Everything for men is penis metaphors. Everything.
It's that eighth of a half of a brain.
That's right.
And because I noticed that you do a lot of walking through nature, hiking, things like that.
I love it, man.
And it's so restorative.
Absolutely.
Because and if it's something that you believe in, if you're Christian, take your Bible and go out into the wilderness and go out and do these things and see how much easier you connect with God or connect with whatever, or the fairies, if you believe in fairies, whatever you believe in, take your dog with you, take your cat with you, whatever. And just embrace nature because it's there for you.
Well, if you look at throughout history, there are a lot of places that a church on a mound or, a monastery or things. These were built on sacred sites that were most likely, paganistic worship sites for Saxons, Vikings, these kind of things. So there's definitely energy to be had. And there's a reason why those churches were built in those places in ancient times, because that was a spot of energy. People went there. It was a place of healing. It was a place of restorativeness for humans.
Absolutely.
So, and when, Christianity or whatever religion happened to come into the area, this is where the people went. So why would we not want to build a church where they're already going?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you study the runes and do rune casting and practice things like that?
I do not do any rune casting. I don't do that. It's something that I'm actually interested in. I don't know if I'm ready for all that yet.
Right.
Like I say, it's still, I'm still in, it's in the infancy stages of all this. I've kind of got a rudimentary working knowledge of it. I made my first bind rune, which is a family bind rune, which I have on my finger.
Okay.
So that was kind of where I'd started with the runes. But there's definitely more things that I want to do. I want to expand. I want to learn more about it. But like I said, there's a lot of information out there, a lot of stuff that you need to read and throw that away or get rid of that. That's really not something that I'm interested in. And paganism too. When we're talking about runes and paganism, when you get into paganism, a lot of the stuff you find is like Wiccan stuff, and so you got to kind of root through the stuff like I was talking about, the things that you don't want. Like I'm not really interested in that, but this is something, or here's a little piece of meat that out of this, let's say Wiccan ideology or whatever, that this might be something that I'm interested in. This maybe is something that could fit into something that I'm doing or that I enjoy, or I could turn this into something else. And a lot of that stuff for paganism is, like I said, we don't know a whole lot. So the stuff that we do know, especially in like Wiccan circles, is you feel like you're kind of rehashing the same shit over and over. It's like, man, I've read this. Okay, this is just somebody else's take on the same type of situation or the same prayer or same ritual. So right now, I'm pretty happy where I'm at. Like I said, I'm still kind of learning the runes, still trying to I guess, what do I want to say here? I guess figure out what rune aspects fit best into my life. And when I made this bind rune here, I really did it more for something to meditate on.
Yeah.
Something to think about while I was meditating, which I don't do enough of. But
right.
And again, it's finding time. That's the big thing. And that's we were talking about in the woods. That's why I like to go into the woods. It's definitely it's a reset switch for me. To be able to turn off the traffic and the screaming kids and the barking dogs and that kind of thing. So
yeah, and whenever you have a busy life, it's hard to, because I pretty much, the only time I get to train now is late at night. When I go home, I'm just absolutely amped, and it takes everything I have to be asleep by 10:30.
Sure.
And that's the cool thing about talking about runes, is that it gives you something to meditate on, and you don't exactly need a quiet mind to go into it. If you just sit down, close your eyes, you're going to have thoughts coming in left and right, especially if you're the anxious type. But if you have, the cool thing about runes and buying runes is it gives you something to focus on. It doesn't have to be a religious thing. It just, you have to understand what they mean. So say I need strength on this journey to becoming a man, so you would take Uruz and you would take Raido and you would take Manaz and you would make a bind rune out of it and you would put it somewhere like you do. You could just write on a piece of paper or you could draw it in red on the wall, whatever, and you just focus on it and you focus and you focus and you focus. And it helps you come to this and it gives you something to focus on again, like we're talking about, to give you that tunnel vision to do what you need to do.
Right.
And, I don't think, the whole casting of it is necessary. I don't think I would ever understand how that worked, but really just not knowing much outside of what they generally mean, just putting stuff on paper, logging it in my master log where I keep all my writings and my training logs and, as my friend says, doodles.
Right. I got one of those too right here.
Right. Exactly. It's one of the best things in the world because you get to go back. You're writing down your journey and then you're keeping tabs on that. And it helps you kind of like with your Instagram. Instagram can be any social media can be like a journal. And like you said, you're posting for you. And that's what I started doing. When I started posting for me, that's when I met guys like you and Nathan and a bunch of other guys. And it's really something we all need something to really focus on that really helps us stay in the here and now and go forward at the same time.
Sure.
But I wanted to talk to you. You have how many spawn do you have?
I have 4. I have 3 boys and a girl. Yeah.
So is the girl a toddler?
No, she's not. I have a stepson also, or soon to be stepson.
Okay,
who is a toddler.
I got you. Yes. Now, how old are they?
My children are 25, 24, 22, and 21 now, or soon to be 22 and 21. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So
I started early.
Yeah, you did. So basically 5 altogether.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what do your kids do right now?
Well, my oldest 2 are, all 3 of them really are in construction. My middle boy, or my youngest boy, is more of a cabinet. He's a cabinet maker and installer. And then my daughter is right now. She is she's the district manager, I believe, of a Little Caesars Pizza. Believe it or not. It's funny to me. Here's this 21-year-old girl who's, it's like she just moved out onto her own. She's got the weight of her world on her shoulders, and she's going to work. And I look in there, and there's like 2 45-year-old women in there, and she's coming in and telling them what to do. It's kind of wild to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
so let me ask you, what are some of the joys of fatherhood?
Well, to me, when I look out and I see my, especially with the children, my age my children are, I look at their friends or other guys that are their age, and my kids got a lot on the ball. I think they have a whole hell of a lot more on the ball than I did at that age. I think. My middle son pretty much owns his own business with a friend from high school. I mean, he gets up every morning. He's a self-motivator. They're doing concrete, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Remodel work, things like that. So I guess it's nice to know that I did something right.
Mm-hmm.
I look out and I'm like, man, these kids ain't been in and out of jail like I was, or they're not doing a lot of crazy shit that I was doing. And they got their lives together, and that makes me feel good. So watching your children succeed is definitely one of the biggest joys for me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it really does sound like you did a good job. What were some of the things that you instilled in your boys and your daughter?
The world doesn't owe you a favor. Anything that you want in life, you're going to have to go get. And it's going to require work. I think too often, especially of the millennial generation, these kids, they look out at their dad, and their dad's got a brand new car and a nice, $160,000 house and a pool and a lawnmower and riding a lawnmower and maybe a boat and a beach house. And, their dad's 45 years old, and they think, well, shit, I want all that. I'm like, well, you're 22, son. At 22, your dad didn't have shit going on. It took him 45 years or 50 years of his life to amass these things. He didn't just snap his fingers and say, I want this.
Right.
But I think with millennial generations and the millennial generation, and this is kind of our generation's fault. Too often, I think we've given to our kids when we should have made them work for it. That's just my observation. But
Yeah.
and I think part of that maybe stems from being a Gen Xer. I went out into the workforce and all them $60,000-$70,000 factory jobs with the great benefits and the great 401ks and the retirements were kind of going by the wayside when I was 18. You look at Fort Wayne, where I'm from originally. I mean, there was, Spicer Axle, Harvester International, Goodrich. I mean, there were lots of really good factory jobs that kind of were drying up as I was coming of age to get a job, So I've earned every dollar that's passed through my hands. I mean, for sure. And I think that was something that I always tried to instill in them was, hey, nobody's going to give you anything, I try to do that from the time they were small, we coached soccer. I had a friend of mine that we coached soccer, and it was we didn't keep score. We kept score. We told them, hey, you won or you lost,
right.
Because that's important. That's important. I don't care what anybody says. Winning and losing, nobody gets up in the morning and wants to go, well, maybe I'll win today, maybe I won't. We're all keeping score. And if you think that you're not, you're kidding yourself. Everybody's keeping score.
That's right. I saw something today that was, it was about, the struggles, and you're going to win some and lose some. Yeah. But the ones that you lose, those are the ones that make you stronger.
Absolutely.
You don't win. You don't win anything by winning. You don't learn anything by winning. You have to keep losing. And when you adapt, you finally adapt to things. Well, damn it. Now you got to go out there and find something else hard to do and then conquer that. And when you adapt to that, you got to keep doing it over and over and over again, because when you get comfortable, that's when shit hits the fan and everything falls apart.
Right.
So what do you think was the hardest part about fatherhood, and as opposed to just, having a football team?
Man, everything you do is under a microscope. You're being watched all the time. And it's funny because you don't think that. And then every once in a while, something you do or say comes back to bite you in the ass. And you're like, man, they are watching. They are paying attention. That is, I think, the hardest thing. And it was doubly hard for me because I graduated school. I was 18 years old. I was a father of two. So I graduated. I got a job, worked two jobs for a while. Was married by 19. I was married for 20 years prior to this. Wow. So yeah. But everything, like I said, I think that's the biggest struggle, is that realizing that everything you do, they're watching all the time. You come home from work and have 6 or 8 beers, your kids pick up on that. You're out in the garage, smoking pot or whatever it is you're doing, your kids see that, and I think whenever, and I'm not sitting here and I'm not going to tell you that I don't drink a beer or whatever the situation may be, but I think I didn't for a long time. From the time I was probably 20 till I was, I'm going to say mid-30s, I didn't drink, when my kids were young and impressionable. But I think when you do that kind of thing, that there's a mystery in that form. Why does Dad drink beer? Why does he do that? There's a little bit of mystery in that. And when you don't do that, it takes that mystery away from them. Right. It's not really something that they saw every day. So it wasn't something that was intriguing to them, So that's the biggest struggle, I think. And a lot of times that's something else that's easy to forget. It's easy to forget that you're being watched, Right. That's one thing that I always told my dad. The one thing that I learned from my dad, no matter what, rain, sleet, snow, sick or no fucking sick, he got up and went to work every day. Right. Yeah. Every day he was at work. Yeah. So that was one of my biggest takeaways from my father.
Yeah. I got the same from mine. He said, boy, you can't live on $20 an hour. And that was in 1989. So what that means is you can't live on $45 an hour. Right. And that shit haunted me. It haunts me today. He worked, he was a treasurer at the telephone company. He was a general contractor. So he did construction on the side. He's always working. And that was the thing. If you don't if you don't work, that was if I learned nothing else from my dad, because I didn't get anything else from him, because he went to East Carolina University, one of the most prestigious universities in North Carolina, on a basketball scholarship and majored in math. The two things I suck at the most are math and basketball.
Excellent. So
I'm
sure he's not slightly disappointed at all.
No, I mean, I got my ability to sing from my mom's side of the family, and I got my work ethic from both sides. So it's always, and that's something that a father needs to instill in his children, is the fact that the world's not going to hand you anything, and you can't live on $100 an hour. You got to make more, because it's gonna, people that say that money's not everything. No, money's not everything, but money's not happiness. But money is freedom, and freedom buys happiness. That is
the truth. Now, I tell you, I've come to a point in my life now, though, where the money is really not important to me as it was. Of course, I'm taking care of one kid, or helping take care of one kid, versus taking care of 4 kids. I'm to the point in my life now where I don't probably make the money that I could make for the skill set that I possess. But if I walk into my job tomorrow and at 10 o'clock, I just feel like, hey, I don't want to fucking be here anymore. I can walk up to my boss and be like, hey, I'm taking off. And he's like, see you tomorrow.
Right.
That's important to me at this point in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got to find that balance, because there were times when I worked at the river where I was at work when I should have been at home. And when I got older, right before I got sick, I kind of was trying to strike that balance of, this is important. I want to take care of this. I can make the money later, because I've been there. I've made $100,000 a year, and I've made $20,000 a year. And I got to be honest with you, when I was making about in between there, I was a whole hell of a lot happier.
Yeah.
I wasn't broke, but I had enough money to do the things that I wanted to do, and I wasn't living at work.
Right.
So I was a lot happier then.
Yeah, I'm the same way. When I was working 12 and 16 hours a day, the paycheck didn't matter. The paycheck's still got to pay bills. I still got to pay my bills.
Right.
So what else have I got going on?
Exactly.
So you have a job, and you have to have a job that's what it is. It gives you a paycheck. Find something you love about it, because your hobby. Don't try to monetize your hobbies unless you know for a fact you can. Because that's why I don't do acting seriously anymore, and it's why it took me so long to get back into music. I'm in my drummer's basement. He lets me use this. I just like how it looks. So this is Primal Fire headquarters for the foreseeable future until he tells me to get the hell out. So I said, hey, you want to play some music after? He's like, yeah, cool. I'm like, good. Okay. So I can include him in the day,
Right. But not just I'm here to use your basement and split.
Right. And so his wife trains at the gym where I coach, and he's like, hey man, I heard you sing. You wanna do some stuff? I'm like,
I saw you doing that the other day. Pretty good. Sounded pretty good, man.
Yeah. So we're going to try to play out. We're not trying to become millionaires from it. I mean, he's got a great job. I've got 2 great jobs. We're not trying to monetize the hell out of it. We're all older. We're all over 40s. So there's 5 of us all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of us all together. We got a lady that sings with us as well, when she can make it. So you want to find that fine line, like you said, somewhere in the middle, where you have a job that doesn't suck your soul out, and then you have hobbies that keep you happy when you're away from your job.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk to you about, I know that between, having a family and working and all that kind of stuff, and training for the Highland Games, that the Sigur, the Valhalla clothing line's been put on hold, but you do plan to start that back up hopefully in the spring. Yep. What does the future look like for that? What kind of different ideas do you have?
Well, there's a lot of stuff out there, man, that a lot of people are kind of doing the same thing. So I don't know. I may change it up a little bit. I don't know. Sometimes I look at the stuff that's out there and I think some of this stuff is pretty edgy. And what is it? The saying, niches get riches, I guess is the saying. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking, I like sock hats. I live in a sock hat all the time. So I may do some sock hats, maybe some wrist wraps, something like that. But I'm a t-shirt and jeans guy. You know, I love t-shirts. So I think t-shirts it was probably going to be my bread and butter. But I got to try to figure out. There's a lot of images on my Instagram that I like. I need to really, what I probably should do is find an artist that I like and have them draw me up some original stuff, and go forward from there. But really, like I say, it's probably going to be primarily t-shirts, just because, like I say, I'm a pretty simple dude. T-shirts and jeans. That, you know, everybody wants a cool t-shirt, man. You know.
Yeah, I think so, and I think you're on the right path with the wrist straps and stuff, and gear it towards lifters, because you're a lifter, and it's kind of a four lifters by lifter, full. Full.
Right.
And so you could have four lifters by lifters, that kind of concept where. And some people lift in a sock hat. Some people lift in a hoodie. I know I like to lift in a hoodie. I like to put my headphones in, put my hood on, leave me the hell alone. I don't have anything to talk about right now. This is my 1 hour out of my day. Leave me alone.
I'm a hoodie guy. I'm a hoodie guy most of the time at the gym too. Yeah.
And because your logo is so cool, and it's got the it's in the Viking font. No, it's in the Conan font. Right?
Conan font.
It's in the Conan font. Yeah. So it's enough to fit on a deadlift socks are like 2 feet long. It's enough to fit on that. So, I mean, I really think you're on the right path with it, and keep it simple, because if you have a landing page and everything's on that landing page and people go to order, it's just that the shirts will be different. And I think because, like you said, you've got a lot of different concepts. So I think, like Nathan was talking about the other day, he wanted to know how you did your, because you did them by pre-order only. Do you think you're looking at, instead of having them made, because you have a bunch of different quotes from a bunch of different people, are you thinking about already having them pre-made and having a stock of each, or are you just thinking of having a page where people say, hey, I want this warrior in this quote, or this author in this quote, and that's what I want on my shirt, and have them
I thought about doing that, but man, that poses a lot of problems, because now you're letting people mix and match. I think what I may do is the more I look into it, the more a print on demand, I think, maybe something more that I'm looking. That way I can throw 6-8 images out there, and these 4 are selling, these 4 are not. Let's dump those 4, keep those 4. Let's throw 4 more out there. Kind of throw it at the wall and see what sticks. Because like you said, I've got a lot to choose from. So that may be something that I may do. But I think the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm leaning toward print on demand. It's not a get rich quick scheme. I'm not going to be a millionaire doing it, but if it puts a little jingle in my pocket, that's cool too, where I can, because I've got family still in Northern Indiana. So I make that trek, try to about once a month if I can. So, putting a little extra coin in my pocket, even if it's just do stuff like that, is good.
Cool.
That's but yeah, this is a super busy year for me though, man. I got my son's getting married in June, which is right after the Highland Games. So I've got a lot of stuff going on. Don't you say it either, because I can see the look on your face. I can see what you're thinking.
I was about to say it.
I can see what you're thinking. Yeah. Oh man, boy, that's a hard one. That one gets stuck in my throat a little,
Yeah. The joy that comes after fatherhood is grandfatherhood.
Is that what it is?
Because, you get to be Jack's grandpa. You get to be Jack's grandpa. He's gonna go. You're gonna pick him up from preschool. And is that your grandpa? It's like, yeah, your grandpa's Jack. Your grandpa's awesome. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that actually. So yeah, before we wrap it up, I want to do one of my favorite parts of the podcast, and I want to hear your 5 pieces of advice for men today.
Oh, number 1, easy. Get off the internet porn. Get off the internet porn. I cannot stress this enough, man. I mean, it's bad, man. It's bad. It's not only is it bad for you, but it's bad in other ways in your life too. It lowers your testosterone. It's going to put a damper on your relationship. And the thing too, what people don't realize about pornography, it's different. It's a lot different now than when you and I were like, man, if you wanted to look at porn, I mean, you had to sneak into your dad's room, get it in the back of the sock drawer, get out the Playboy or whatever was in there. I mean, your kid now, he goes to school, he's got a phone in his pocket, he's got access to porn right now. And not only, I mean, and like not the porn that his dad liked, whatever he's into.
Yeah.
So it really kind of messes you up sexually in that way where, it makes it, I'm really into this type of thing. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of limits you that way. But what are I can't think of the addiction. It's an anonymity, or how am I saying anonymity? What's the word I'm looking for? Where you can do it anonymously.
Oh,
it's the 3 A's. Yes. And it's affordable. You can do it anonymously and it's accessible. Now, addiction, every form of addiction meets 2 of those criteria. Like let's just say gambling. Gambling, you can be anonymous and gamble, and it's accessible, but it's not always affordable. Mm-hmm. Alcohol, for example, it's affordable, it's accessible, but you can't hide it. People know when you're drunk. You do something stupid, you go to jail. You can't. But internet porn, it meets all 3 of those. Mm-hmm. You can do it in the privacy of your own home, so it's anonymous. It's absolutely free, so it doesn't cost you a dime. And access. You have access to it. You got a phone, you got a computer, you got a TV anymore. It is you've got it. It's right there. It's in the privacy of your own home. I mean, and that'll segue into my next one. Turn off the television. I haven't owned a television. I didn't own a television for quite a few years. We have a TV. I don't watch it. My stepson, we have it for him more than anything. But turn off the television, man. There's so much horse shit out there on TV. It's politics. It's religion. It's a celebrity. It's blah, 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 blah. It's noise. It's noise, man. Turn that off. And not only that, but I think if a person were to turn the TV off, a man especially, he's got a lot more time in the day.
Yes.
Yeah. God, you spend a lot of time sitting in the easy chair in front of the TV.
Yep.
I think that would be my second piece of advice. My third piece of advice, and this is a big one for me, alone time. Mm-hmm. Find some alone time. And I'm not saying every day. I'm not even saying once a week. But when you get that crazy feeling, man, it's time to maybe get in the truck and go sit in the woods. Whether it's hunting, fishing, sitting in the woods, reading, whatever it is, go outside and find some quiet time, Another thing that a piece of advice I could give would be engage in something physical, whether it's lifting weights, splitting wood, doing push-ups. Get your kids, this was something I've always thought, you get a deck of cards, lay a deck of cards out, do it with your kids. Okay, here's Absolutely. A 2, let's do 2 push-ups. Here's a 10, let's do 10 push-ups. Let's see who can get through the whole deck. Right. Anything that's going to boost that testosterone, get that testosterone up. And I guess, and this is me recently here, I guess, would be clean up what you're eating, man. Be aware of what you're putting into your body. They're like IPA drinkers. I see these IPA drinkers, man. And
oh my God.
Dude, IPA is bad for your testosterone, buddy.
Oh my God.
Scientifically, it drops your testosterone.
Not only does it taste like shit.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, why are you drinking that, Brian? It's awful. And you're just, you're stunting everything. But I agree.
But be aware of what you're putting into your body. And something else that people don't realize too, peppers, anything hot, that ups your testosterone. You get some peppers in your life, man.
Yeah.
Get some red pepper flake in your life. Make some shit where you bite into it. And I don't like it where I'm biting into a branding iron, but I like to know it's hot. Put some spice in your food. I think
definitely.
So pretty simple shit, really, man. It don't take a rocket scientist to be a man.
It's true.
I don't think.
Yeah. And
it's pretty common knowledge.
Yeah, and those are 5 of the best I've heard, honestly, and people definitely need to take it to heart. So I definitely want to thank you for being here. Been wanting to talk to you for quite a while now, and I hope everything goes well at the Highland Games. So please keep playing with that telephone pole, and that if everybody's just tuning in at this point, I'm talking about an actual telephone pole. That is not a penis. That's not what that is. Even though the rest of the podcast,
it could be.
Just don't do it while you're looking at porn. Go.
That's right. That's right.
Good thoughts.
That's right.
All right. So, my man, thank you again for being here. I'm looking forward to what is going to transpire with the clothing line, and I'm looking forward to hopefully hearing some good news about the Highland Games and everything else going forward. So, my brother, I'll be talking to you soon.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for having me on, man. I've had a good time
Absolutely,
talking to you
man.
and kind of sorting some things out. It was finally good to, like you said, talk to you. It'd been a long time in the making, I think. So I appreciate you
Absolutely.
having me on.
All right, man. Take
All
care.
right, buddy.